This is the Fantasy Sanctuary Best Ball Show. We are back again. It is busy season. It is best ball season. Last week, we dove into our first underdog draft of the season on this channel. Back with Joe again. Joe from FantasyPros. You should know him. He's all over Twitter. He is a minor celebrity, in my opinion. Find his work on Fantasy Pros, Face Off Sports Network, Triple Play Fantasy, and on his own YouTube channel, Beyond the Gridiron, which is really starting to pick up steam lately. Joe, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You know, I had to put my Phillies hat on. We've been winning a lot lately, so I'm a little superstitious. Haven't not taken this hat off. I've worn it every day, so it had to be on the pod.
Love to hear it. So, Joe, we are going to jump into a best ball draft in a minute, and we're going with the good old classic Underdog Best Ball Mania. We will give it just a couple of minutes for people if they want to jump in with us. But this contest, I mean, this is the flagship contest. When you talk about best ball this season, there's nothing better than this. You know, you look at the total money up top, $3 million for first place. 10th place does drop all the way down to 30,000 though. So it is a big noticeable difference. So we're not here for 10th place. We're here for first place. The other thing worth mentioning is that there's $500,000 for the regular season winner. So we can definitely get into that. Shout out to Rich in the chat. We've got Olaf with us and Gridiron Greek. Appreciate everyone here tonight. Joe, should we get into it? We've got loads of stuff that we're going to do. So hop in now to Best Ball Mania. We are going to go through camp hype, whether we're buying or fading news. We have 23 big questions that I'm going to be asking Joe as we go today. And it is going to be relentless. There will be an awful lot covered in tonight's show. Appreciate that. What a duo.
Look how many we have together.
That's right. We have been busy in the puppy streets. We're co-drafting 20 teams over there, as well as these Best Ball Manias. So, I mean, hey, there's no time like the present. In a little over 2 weeks, the slow drafts on Underdog are going to start speeding up. So it's like, if you want to get in, you want to get those slow drafts going, now's the time to do it. Shout out to the Edge DFS. Their channel's really smart, some really nice design thumbnails, some really good content. Go check them out whilst you are here. And we are just waiting on this to fill up. So if you're in the chat and able to play on Underdog, do get yourself in there. Whilst we have a moment, shout out to Andy Barrett, who became a YouTube member today for this channel. You can join the Fantasy Sanctuary YouTube channel from as little as 99 pence or $1.25 a month, all the way up to $5 a month, which gets you all my DFS content in season. I used to write FootballOutsiders, do my DFS content over there. Instead, it's going exclusively through our Discord, exclusively through the YouTube channel. We've got all Rich's Dynasty content. We've got a Discord with over 100 people creating startups, best ball leagues, giving advice, trade values, things like that. There is no better place to get feedback. And Joe, we are going to be picking at the 110 here. The draft's filled up pretty fast. We've got a couple of names recognizing there. Soccer Dave in there. Not too many badges, though. So it should be interesting to see what falls to us. I have seen a few drafts where Cooper Kupp has been falling all the way down there, past the likes of Tyreek Hill, past the likes of Christian McCaffrey. If we get Cooper Kupp down to sort of 10 spot, do you think that's a smash? Are you kind of worried about this hamstring injury and the way that soft tissue injuries can linger?
I don't like soft tissue injuries, but I can't skip over Cooper Kupp if he drops to the 10th spot. That's too far. That's too far for me. So if he gets there, I know that you love him. So I'll just hit it and I won't even talk to you about it. I'll just draft him.
Yeah, it's tricky because I was probably kind of gearing myself up about a week ago to start bringing out my Cooper Kupp will be the wide receiver 1 overall this season take. This has just given me a slight bit of pause in case, they just decide to just take it a little bit easy to start the season. But, last year he was the wide receiver 2 in points per game. It was only him, Tyreek Hill, and Justin Jefferson who were wide receivers with a 30% or more target share. So there's just very few wide receivers I think really can compete with that. I think, the likes of Amon Ra, the likes of CeeDee Lamb can do great things. But, yeah, so far I'm kind of fine with it. But we do see Cooper Kupp go at the 105 just after McCaffrey, which feels kind of fair. All the reports seem to be fairly positive about his status. And Sean McVay was saying that he seemed to believe that he'd be back well in before the start of the season. So we've got a few more picks before we pick. If you were in the chat and you were in this draft with us, do let us know which position you're picking at. I see behind us at the 111, Flavorize This, Stephen, a very sharp drafter who will no doubt be right on top of some of the players that we might want to get to. Joe, 3 picks away. I'll let you take the first pick. You can take this one home, whoever you want to go with.
This is going to be tough because it might be Kelsey because we get that bring up. Never mind, just took it from me. All right, let's let me be a homer. We're going to go AJ Brown.
Okay, how do you feel about AJ Brown overall? Because like so much of his production seemed to come in big spike weeks. Do you feel like there's a consistency level we could see this year with the Eagles facing a tougher schedule? I mean, Jalen Hurts had the least amount of fourth quarter throws in the NFL last season because the Eagles just weren't pushed.
Yeah, I don't think that happens again this year. I think this year we're going to have to play all 4 quarters. And if that happens, I think AJ Brown, who did his thing last year, is going to repeat doing his thing again. And I just came back from the practice last night. Now, obviously, it's not really like a normal practice for them because they're kind of playing it up for everybody. But I'll explain after this pick where you want to go, man.
Let's go CeeDee Lamb. I think that the drumbeat is just getting louder and louder over in my garage for CeeDee Lamb being able to take a jump into that sort of 105 area for next year. We do have Gene in the chat who is in the 4 hole, so shout out to him. We'll keep an eye on that. So go back to what you were saying, Joe. Do you want to just toggle to the draft board and then carry on with your AJ Brown propaganda?
Yes. So I'm a huge fan of like what we did last night in that practice. We were there, me and my fiance. We were enjoying the festivities, enjoying all the fun, and they were using him constantly. You were seeing Devonta Smith, you were seeing him on the drag routes. It was weird. You were seeing Kenny Gainwell in with the first team running backs. Penny was like back with Mariota at the moment, so that was kind of scary. But AJ Brown, he just was running over. He was jumping over everybody, 25-yard outs. They were hitting them. Like they looked like they were in that Pittsburgh Steelers game again, like that kind of combination that they had. And anyone who watched that game knows like AJ Brown did his thing. So I think it's just going to keep coming. I think he's going to keep scoring. And this year we're going to have to play all 4 quarters. So it's it. This is how we do it.
So we are going to get to the questions in the chat, but before we have got 23 big camp questions that we want to get through tonight. Number 1, Bijan Robinson. He's taking the souls of Falcons linebackers. During his last 2 seasons in college, combined for 2,700 rushing yards at 5.95 yards per carry. Joe, are you buying what you're seeing from Bijan Robinson? Do you think he deserves to be creeping up draft boards? Like, does he deserve to jump Austin Eckler? Or do you think that this is just people should have been paying attention? This is what everyone has been saying Bijan Robinson could do.
I think everybody should have been paying attention. And yes, I do have him jumping Austin Eckler. Now, I know you like Eckler a lot, but I'm actually kind of fading him this year. I don't like the situation as much as I did last year. Now that Justin Herbert has the better ADOT that's going to come because he doesn't have the injuries and he has a different offensive coordinator. But Bijan is why we're here. This is what we're talking about. The man is just talented. The man runs routes like a wide receiver. And if Tyler Algier behind that line with a really terrible quarterback could do what he did, imagine what a super talented running back is going to do with that line and with a better quarterback. Because I do think Ritter was better than Mariota, especially after watching Mariota last night. He is just god-awful.
Yeah, I was kind of out on Austin Eckler at points in the offseason. I've kind of got back in on him. I think it's very easy to say, yeah, he's not going to get the 17 touchdowns per season. He's not going to get as many targets as he did last year. But I think I'm betting on this offense as a whole, the Chargers, to take a step forward. I'm betting on them to be hyper productive, and it's hard for me to completely fade Austin Eckler when I'm making that argument. Do you want to toggle back over to the players so that we can keep an eye on that? But Garrett Wilson, he went over 112 there. He's kind of crept up a little bit. You missed a few days with Knox. He should be back in practice this week by all accounts. Are you in on Garrett Wilson? Do you feel like there's nothing to be concerned about? Do you feel like he has the kind of top 5 wide receiver ceiling within him?
Yeah, I think he's got the ability for top 5 wide receiver. I'm not worried about the injury. The good thing, I know like an injury sucks regardless, but the good thing is it happened early in the preseason. It's not like it happens 4 or 5 days before the season, then it's going to be something that's nagging throughout the entire year. It happened early. He's got a ton of talent. And it's another one of them situations, like we just said, like If Garrett Wilson just did that with Mike White and Zach Wilson, imagine what he's going to do with a super accurate Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers hasn't fallen off. He had a bad year last year, but he had 2 MVPs before that. So the guy still has talent. It's a tough schedule. They're not going to blow anybody out. They're going to have to throw that ball. Garrett Wilson's going to be a stud, and I'm fine with him.
Yeah, so I mean, he scored 4 touchdowns last year, which was almost a third of the Jets' 15 passing touchdowns. So it seems very easy to project him for positive touchdown regression. I think, double that would possibly even be disappointing. Like double-digit touchdowns feels very real. We are 3 picks away. So far, obviously, we have AJ Brown, and then we took CD Lamb.
Yep.
Where do you feel like going here? Have we seen has Jalen Hurts gone off the board here? I feel like
Jalen Hurts is gone.
So we could take Josh Jacobs. It feels inevitable that at some point he's going to come back to training camp. I feel like for me, it's Breece Hall or Josh Jacobs. Which one do you want to go with, Joe?
I'd rather go with Breece Hall out of the two, but that's I'll let you make the final call on that.
Let's go Breece Hall. All in on Breece Hall.
And I like going the running back here because our boy Flavorize This has 2 running backs. So I feel like he's going to go wide receiver, although he just made me look like a fool. So never mind. Never mind. I'm just stupid. Nobody talk to me.
Okay. Well, yeah, we've got a question from Rich in the chat. Any concern there's too many mouths to feed? We've got to produce him well in camp. I think it's a valid question, definitely. Goddard gets so much of his production on screens as well that it feels like he's going to be able to get his. Devonta's going to have games where he gets his. And if you're in managed leagues, it's possibly something that's more of a headache. But with how explosive this team can be, with the fact that there should be more plays, more pass attempts, I'm completely fine with them. Joe, I assume as an Eagles home that you're completely the same.
Yeah, I'm well, our pick's up and then I'll explain it. So what do you think? And we got some DeAndre Hopkins, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Williams, Christian Kirk, Joe Mixon.
It's Jerry Jeudy or Mike Williams for me.
All right, let's go Mike Williams because I'm trusting in that offense a little bit more than the Broncos.
Back on the draft board and keep an eye on what everyone's doing, and you carry on with your Eagles hype.
But yeah, again at the practice last night. And you know what they did at the practice last night? A lot of A.J. Brown, a lot of Devonta Smith, a lot of Dallas Goedert. There wasn't a lot of Quez. That's not what our offense is, just a big trio. That's all it is. Big 3 with a bunch of running backs. So Quez Watkins here and there, Alamadeus, Zacchaeus, however you say his name, maybe here and there. But yeah, I'm really hoping he doesn't play much this year because I'm not trying to get his name figured out. But Dallas Goedert was looking good, and he was breaking off from people, looked crisp in the routes last night. He's out here saying he wants 1,000 yards, and I think the Eagles are going to let him have it. I think those 3 guys are just going to get peppered because, again, we're going to have to play all 4 quarters this year. There's no way, because we don't have the easiest strength of schedule, that we're going to run away with games this year. I just don't see it.
So we are rapid firing through a lot of these questions. Josh Jacobs went 1 pick after our 3rd round pick, and he's supposedly drawing interest from the Broncos and the Chiefs. If you had Vitagrison, the led the league with 1,600 rushing yards last year. Nobody else had over 1,500. But it feels like it could be quite fragile, that kind of production. We've not seen a consistency from Josh Jacobs in terms of as a fantasy performer over the years. Do you feel like the best bet for him is with the Raiders this year, or would you like to see him land somewhere else and see what he could do free of that sort of team?
I don't like playing the whole what's in the mystery box game, and it's the same thing of trading draft picks, just get the veteran, what you're getting. And I know what Josh Jacobs does with this coaching staff, and I know that the Raiders are kind of void of talent. So I really don't want to see Josh Jacobs ending up in Kansas City because there's a lot more talent there. And I don't think they're going to run him as much as his coach here does in Las Vegas. So we know what we got. I was a big fan of Jacobs last year because I said they were going to run him until the wheels fell off because nobody behind him has the same level of talent. And I'm sticking with that this year because if you bring him somewhere else, there's going to be better talent. I'm not in on Zamir White, and I'm not in for anybody else who's there. I want Josh Jacobs to just get his money and come back because the longer he waits in the camp, the more I get nervous that he's going to get hurt within the first couple of weeks.
So just going back to the Dallas Goedert Point which, he's talking up he wants a 1,000-yard season. There have been 30 instances of tight ends going over 1,000 yards since the year 2000. So it's not out of the question, but it's also not overly common. Shout out to Nez from the Badge Bros, just becoming a YouTube member. Really appreciate you, Nez. The Badge Bros, I mean, they're killing it over there. They launched their YouTube memberships today. I would highly recommend going and checking it out. I just bought one of their very nice t-shirts last week before I could have joined and got a discount on it, but that's okay because the guys are awesome. We have seen pretty standard rooms so far, apart from the pick out of 3 where they've gone double elite quarterback with Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Josh Allen, Justin Fields, Brandon Ayuk. We've got AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, Mike Williams. Joe, do you want to flip over the players and we can keep a look on that? Joe Burrow just does go there. I know Rich was asking about any thoughts about Burrow rumors today. Chase in, as long as he's back by week 5, it'll be fine. I think I can understand that. I mean, the Bengals are a cautious organization at times, and it would make some level of sense. But the AFC North is going to be such a competitive division, and if you're talking about wanting to really have a home playoff fixture, that's difficult enough at the best of times. So I don't think Joe Burrow is the kind of player who would want to sit back and deal with that anyway. So, yeah, players just like to play. As much as we might grief them and give them abuse at times for wimping out of certain situations, for the most part, players want to play. We're back on the clock. Joe, anyone stand out?
I mean, I wouldn't mind Hollywood Brown. I'm fine with Hollywood Brown. I like Miles Sanders. Justin Herbert was going to be my pick, but he got sniped. So who are you feeling?
Yeah, let's say Marquise Brown. I think, this room isn't the most wide receiver heavy, but through 5 rounds, we've got 4 wide receivers. It definitely feels like a decent start to it. In terms of the running backs and everyone else there, can you give us an idea what else we could be looking at?
Let's look at the running back tabs here. We got Walker, we got Madison, we got Miles Sanders, Cam Akers, your boy J.K. Dobbins is down here. A little David Montgomery, a little Dameon Pierce. Yeah, that's a little far.
What have we got at quarterback? I mean, I'm guessing that we lost all the elites now, didn't we?
Let's click them over. We got Trevor Lawrence still in that route. We got Deshaun Watson and Tua. So it feels I feel like we're going with like a wide receiver, even a tight end type thing. Maybe Miles Sanders if you're feeling it, but that's up to you.
Well, I know you like Miles Sanders, and I'm happy for you to take this one. If Flavorize this, who is picking before us, doesn't decide to add to his running back room with 4 running backs already. So I don't mind Miles Sanders. He's a player that I feel like Stephen does take Dameon Pierce. I'm not sure whether he's.
I don't know what he's doing, but I'm going to take Miles Sanders for us.
Yeah, take Miles Sanders. So you really, truly believe that what the Panthers are going to do with Miles Sanders is something that the Eagles didn't do over the last couple of years? And
I really do. I really think that, like, again, and we talked about it a little bit last week, but we got some new people here. Like, I don't believe in Chuba Hubbard to the sense that he's going to be anything of a threat because he wasn't a threat to Foreman last season, and Foreman's not as good as Miles Sanders. Now, running backs don't get paid. It's obviously like a big storyline right now, but Miles Sanders did get paid, and he got paid pretty well for a running back. So behind that offensive line, which was surprising last season, and with a small, tiny little franchise quarterback, the best way to protect him is to run that running back more often than not, because these wide receivers aren't like the playmakers yet. We have an old Adam Thielen. We have a Jonathan Mingo who has to work into it. I don't believe in Terrace Marshall. Like Laviska Shenault is not a thing to me. So I think Miles Sanders has to become the focal point with a coach who knows what he brings to the table.
Okay, so let's get back to our questions here. We have 23 to get to, 23 subjects from camp that we're either buying or selling. Amon Ra, he's kind of picking up a little bit of hype. He's creeping further into that first round at times now. And it seems to be on the back of a lot of camp reports that he's catching a lot of touchdowns in practice, which is one thing he didn't really do an awful lot of last season. he was tackled inside 5-6 times, so it's kind of easy to tell yourself a story that if any of those hadn't really happened and Jamal Williams wasn't such a beast inside the 5 and 10 yard line, then perhaps Amon Ra would have caught more touchdowns then. Are you buying that, or do you think this is just kind of typical camp hype and it's like, oh, player catches touchdown in practice? That's not unusual.
Yeah, I don't care if they score a touchdown in practice, but I do believe that Amon-Ra has a chance to do something special this season, especially with the first 6 weeks with JMO being suspended and having like Marvin Jones and Denzel Mims be like the only other wide receivers out there. Sam Laporta's got talent, but we know what rookie tight ends do, especially to start the season. I feel like he's going to get peppered often, which is something he gets anyway. And like you said, a few of those fall into the end zone last season, and it's a whole different game. And, Jamal Williams doesn't have ridiculous amount of touchdowns, but it happened. It is what it is. I just think that this year it's going to flip just a tiny bit. And, he's got a great matchup against the Cowboys in week 17. So I'm excited to have him whenever I can have him in best ball.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins goes at the 6'11". He's somebody I've seen on DraftKings slip as far as the 8th round. And, the slows which we're doing together, we're in 20 puppy slow drafts together. And it's been incredibly difficult for me to pass up when J.K. slips past ADP. So 6'11" feels fine. I think that I feel this is the week where something breaks with that. I think that there's been good vibes around the Ravens. JK's been out of practice chatting with the owner, chatting with Eric DeCosta, the GM, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of animosity. It's not like Josh Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor situation. We're 4 picks away, Joe. We've got 2 running backs, 4 wide receivers. We could take your boy Dallas Goedert to add to this like non-Jalen Hurts Eagles stack and then look to maybe pair this with the kind of Marquise Brown, Kyler Murray, Cardinals sort of week 17 stack. We have a couple of picks away. Is Dallas Goedert the clear pick for you as he slips slightly past ADP, or is anyone else you'd like to bang the table for here?
No, I think it's Dallas Goedert for me because in a sense you then get 2 of the big 3 targets for Jalen Hurts. So you kind of in a sort of way get Jalen Hurts. We already have Hollywood Brown, and to pair him with another Cardinal player is easy because they're all very late. So if you want, I click it right now.
Go for it. I'm completely fine with Dallas Goedert. He's a player that I probably have slightly less of than I would like, mainly because Kyle Pitts just falls at times, and I don't think there's anything to separate the two of them. And I think, it's very easy to tell yourself a story where Kyle Pitts probably puts up more 100-yard games than Dallas Goedert. And with me playing on DraftKings a lot, where the 100-yard bonus is important, I do like that. So we're 2 picks away. What's fair at wide receiver, Joe? Because it feels like we're going to be at a point where we probably want to end up with at least 5 soon.
We're looking at Rashad Bateman, Cortland Sutton, Michael Thomas, and Sky Moore as the big guys. We do have James Conner on the bring back. Oh, no, we don't. Somebody just took him, didn't he? Mother, you jerks.
That's fine.
So, yeah. So then, top running backs are Swift, Rashad White, Isaiah Pacheco. But those are the top wide receivers right there. And
Let's go Rashad White. Let's go Rashad White, Joe.
Okay. Rashad White.
I think Rashad White's a player, again, another player who I don't have a lot of, but I was really high on him last year. He was a really interesting player. And he just completely struggled with efficiency. He wasn't particularly good at that. And it's very easy to come up to a conclusion that, okay, he was only good because Tom Brady was dumping the ball off to him 100 times a game. But Baker Mayfield will also chuck the ball off short. He'll run out on a unpressured pocket and realize that he's about to run into trouble and have to get rid of a ball. So I'm kind of good with that. We've got a question in the chat from Jackson. If you could just tap back to the draft board for a minute for us, Joe, keep an eye on what's going on. Jackson says, I'm in a casual and shallow 8-man redraft league at pick 6, keeping Jettis. Do I open double RB or take a wide receiver and RB? I think this is the year where you can push those RBs slightly. We're going to see Josh Jacobs slide. We're going to see possibly Jonathan Taylor slide. We're going to see Ramondre Stevenson, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon. There's so much running backs in an area which we're not used to finding the kind of caliber of options that we would have. But I'd be tempted to start wide receiver, running back and go like that. But obviously all plans are a good plan until you get punched in the mouth. Joe, would that be your approach, or would you go double running back and just look to sort of like capitalize on that position?
You know, it's weird. I actually am okay with going double wide receiver and then capitalizing on running back after this year. I mean, especially we're talking what it's a 8-man redraft league. You're going to have talent later on. It's not like you have to worry about it. And with running back, I'll just get a bunch of people with volume at that point. I'll get the Cam Akers, the James Connors of the world, Alexander Madison. But if I could start with 2 wide receivers that are just studs, I'm taking it.
Hope that answers your question, Jackson. And if it's the first time that you have found with Fantasy Sanctuary, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Loads of videos coming this week. We've got more redraft content coming out. We're aiming to do a whole bunch more this week. And we have a DraftKings video that dropped today talking about all the nuances that led to teams being in the finals. That's some really detailed stuff that can help you construct some really good teams over on DraftKings. I know Rich is cooking up lots of dynasty stuff, but we do have 23 questions to get through, and there are plenty still to go. Jimmy G stinking things up in practice for the Raiders. Are you buying that narrative, or do you think it's just a little worry that we don't really need to have? It's just a quarterback relearning a system that he's not been in for quite a while.
I honestly just think it's the quarterback relearning the system. I mean, they're not going to switch off of him. He's obviously going to play. He's done well enough as he plays, so I'm not too concerned. Now, don't take that as me saying like he's going to be a QB1 and or anything like that. They're still going to be terrible, and there's not really much I want from the Raiders offense this season. That's one of the teams I'm avoiding as best as I can.
Yeah, I haven't taken too much Davante Adams simply because last year he lived off Derek Carr pushing the ball downfield. You know, he was producing a point of 3.3 PPR points per touch, which was a career high, even better than he did in Green Bay. And part of that was because Derek Carr just peppered him with those kind of deep targets. Jimmy G ranked 40th in deep ball completion rate last year among quarterbacks with 50 or more attempts. Over Adams' last few years, he's averaged 27 deep targets per season, and Jimmy G's only ever gone past 30 deep attempts once in his last couple of years. So it's really difficult to tell yourself a story where Davante Adams is thriving without having to come back to the line of scrimmage and just be a bit of a PPR scam more than anything. But yeah, so we are a few picks away. Daniel Jones is towards the top of our queue based on the rankings we're using. I don't hate Daniel Jones there. I think, we could look
He's going.
Oh, Daniel Jones.
Just went. We got Zach Charbonnet here. We got a Dak Prescott that we can match with CD Lamb.
Well,
Pat Fryermuth.
Let's start Dak Prescott because I think that would be... let's take Dak Prescott then and get that stack locked in.
Perfect, because Zach Charbonnet went the pick before us.
I think the next pick, we probably want to go wide receiver before we end up in the Allen Lazard, Juju Smith-Schuster zone. So in terms of those guys at the top, Tyler Boyd, Jacoby Myers, Zay Jones, I'd be fine with any of those three. Joe, do you have a preference out of them?
I mean, not really. Like you said, I'm just going to take the best offense, and to me, the best offense is Tyler Boyd. Did he just go? Yeah, he just went.
Oh, okay, yeah. There we go. So
at that point, I guess I go Zay Jones or Jacoby. I'll let you pick that one. Zay Jones or Jacoby because I'm torn.
Let's go with Zay Jones because that feeds nicely into one of the training camp stories, which came out today. That Zay Jones has been increasingly a dominant red zone weapon for the Jaguars this last couple of weeks. Do you buy that? I mean, we talked about it before with Amon-Ra, like about players catching touchdowns, but that feels like an area which Zay can capitalize on because, Calvin Ridley is going to be the deep vertical. We're going to see Christian Kirk pick up those slot snaps, but Zay Jones has a relationship with Trevor Lawrence, who built a trust. Do you think that can, that can be relied upon in the red zone and for a 10th round pick, we were all right with him being touchdown or bust at times?
Yeah, and especially because we are talking about best ball. Like if we were talking about redraft, I'm probably not in on him as much. But because we're talking about best ball, I'm not as concerned. Especially because he's like our 5th wide receiver. We just need a couple of spike weeks out of him, and then I'll be happy.
Yeah. So let's go back to a couple of rapid fire questions. DJ Moore and Justin Fields, the two seem kind of glued at the hip. They're doing interviews together on NFL Network. Is this the Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown best friends narrative again?
That's so hard because, like, you have Matthew Stafford and Cup doing it. So, like, did they eat breakfast together? Like, and then we got Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. It is important. Chemistry obviously is important, but I don't care if you eat breakfast together. I want you guys like running routes for 3 hours. They look good together. But Justin Fields also looks good with Chase Claypool right now. So I think it's more Justin Fields taking a step forward for everybody than just Justin Fields and DJ Moore.
Yeah, I mean, Fields ranked 56 in EPA per pass attempt out of 57 quarterbacks for 50 or more attempts, completed 12.8 pass attempts per game last year. So there definitely needs to be something there. We've got 10 picks, so I'm going to fire off a few more. Gabe Davis, bounce back season. He's playing well in camp, one-handed catches for the highlight reels. Last year, he played through a high ankle sprain. Are you buying in on Gabe Davis this year?
I'm buying in on him this year because his ADP is normal this year.
Yeah.
Like he's a big guy. He's got the ability to take games over. We all know about the playoffs and the 4 touchdowns, but his ADP is in a normal zone. And before he got injured, he had a big week there. He was doing good for the first couple of weeks and then, got injured and things tailed off entirely. But with Dalton Kincaid also out there too, it'll help him, I think, just kind of not have that pressure of I have to be this absolute stud wide receiver too anymore. So I'm in on Gabe Davis at normal ADPs.
So 7 picks away. I'm going to keep firing. Darren Waller looked ropey at times last year. Didn't seem to be on the same page as Josh McDaniels. He's got a new team. He's in New York. He's mossing defenders in practice. Tight end 6 in ADP. Are you buying or fading?
Yeah, I feel like I'm the only guy in like the world fading Darren Waller, but the fact that he's older, he's been getting injured, and he didn't break a single tackle last year. I want an athletic tight end, and nothing screams unathletic than a guy who can't break a tackle.
That's fair. So we are 6 picks away. In terms of our team, Joe, can you just recap what we've got already?
Yeah, let me pull us up real quick. We got Dak Prescott, a quarterback. Our running backs are Brees Hall, Miles Sanders, and Rashad White. Our wide receivers are A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, Mike Williams, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Zay Jones, and then our tight end is Dallas Goedert.
I think it's a pretty good roster so far in terms of this pick. We could look to go in a couple of different ways. I mean, Rondale Moore's at the top of the ADP there. Based off rankings, we've got Damian Harris high up as well. And I'd be fine with either of those players. Can definitely add to the kind of Philly, Arizona bring back with Rondale Moore, or we could go Damian Harris. How do you feel about those 2 options, Joe?
To me, I'd rather go Damian Harris because on the comeback, which will be short, we'll have Rondale Moore, or we can grab Michael Gallup and have 2 Cowboys and kind of build on that too. Damian Harris is gone. Why do I even talk anymore?
Well, let's take Michael Gallup and lock in the stack, and then figure out the other side of it when it comes back around.
Yeah, if Rondale Moore comes back around, maybe we do that. But
what's their running back?
Oh boy, running back is not a pretty sight. We have Elijah Mitchell, Jalen Warren.
Jalen Warren auto smash.
Auto smash?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Jalen Warren is my highest exposed running back on DraftKings. I think, you look in terms of efficiency and stuff like that. He was fantastic last year. There was plenty of camp hype, which is showing him being explosive. And Najee Harris talked about how he felt that he wasn't as explosive because of the hardware that was in his foot because of his injury, and that he felt that he was more explosive down the stretch. But it doesn't pan out. I think it was Ian Hartett said a tweet about it. It was basically exactly the same before and after. Najee Harris just isn't that much of an explosive runner for me, and I think, in the words of Pat Crane, Jalen Warren might actually just be the best running back on the Steelers. So if he's there, I'm completely fine with that. We are going to get to
works for me.
We've got a couple of questions in the chat we'll get to in a minute. But then at a 1-4-6-1, I feel like we're pretty well stacked, and we can kind of take a glance at what sort of stacks we want to pick. Jamal Williams does go to the Angry Llama at the turn, and we've got Steven, who does have 5 running backs. It would be slightly surprising if he took another running back here.
We already said that, though, man, and he took a running back. So that's why I'm being real quiet, because I'm like, he's going to take him. I know he is.
It's the curse of streamers.
Yeah, I know he's doing it. And he's doing it on purpose, I think. I don't even think he cares about the $25 that he put in. No, we're good. So we'll
KJ
go Jalen
Osborne.
Warren.
Let's go Jalen Warren, and then let's hit one question before we come back to the questions in the chat. KJ Osborne was getting some pop today for his work in the blocking game, being talked up by some of the Vikings beat writers as the wide receiver 2. They expect to see more snaps. Do you think that's worth paying attention to? I mean, it's only been a couple of years since Justin Jefferson was the wide receiver 3 in Vikings camp and was reportedly, way down the pecking order. Or do you just trust that Jordan Addison's talent is absolutely going to win out and be the better fantasy pick?
I was one of those idiots who was like, Justin Jefferson's going to start off slow. He might be but I was one of those idiots. I'm not doing it again. No. Jordan Addison can run a route with the best of them. Jordan Addison will be involved, but so will KJ Osborne, because I think they bring different things to the game. But I do feel like KJ Osborne might be a little more slot receiver this time around for me. I do think things are going to be interchangeable, but I'm not scared for Jordan Addison. I keep him in the same spot. I'm not falling for that twice.
Yeah, so we're going to get to a question. Joe, I don't know if you want to start putting a few players in our queue who might stack up well. Gridiron Greek, one of my favorite subscribers to the Fantasy Sanctuary, left us a very nice comment today. Appreciate you, dude. Hey, guys, if I find myself stuck with 0 QB or 0 TE pretty late in drafts because I'm scooping up value positions, how would you address that, especially when starting QBs start to dry up? And I think it's just, you have to approach your best ball drafts at all times, and even just fantasy drafts in general, as you have a certain amount of draft capital that you can spend. And if you don't spend, it early, then you've got to spend a lot late. Plenty of reason to believe that late tight end is going to be viable this year. The quality down at the bottom between players like Hunter Henry, between Hayden Hurst. There's other guys down there, Luke Musgrave, who's probably going to start climbing up a bit. And it feels like you can hit 3 or 4 tight ends towards the end of drafts and be fine. Probably only 3 here on Underdog, 4 on DraftKings if you really want to push it. And that's something that James Brimacombe from Football Guys has been preaching all offseason. Justin Herzig last week came onto the show and we did a DraftKings draft together. You can check that out. It's linked in the description. And he talked up how much he's finding real value there. With QB, it definitely gets a little trickier. I think I always kind of want to hit one before round 14 because the ceiling outcomes for them just feel not in the same realm. And it's like, if you're talking waiting past round 14, then you're basically going to be stuck with Baker Mayfield in there as one of your starting quarterbacks, Mac Jones, and I'm just not sure the ceiling can compete too well. Joe, what have you been queuing up? What have you been sort of sitting there for us?
Well, I keep trying to queue people up, and people keep taking things, but we have in the queue at the moment DJ Chark, because we have, the Jaguar there, Gerald Everett to build up a little bit on the Mike Williams. We have Kenneth Gainwell because we are a little bit on the Eagles. Looking through it, like we're so balanced that like we're not heavy on anything. We got the Brown, like we got to find some Browns if we want to do anything with Breece Hall against the Jets for Week 17. Steelers play the Seahawks, nothing there. Oh, we're up. All
okay.
Right, well,
so just before we do that, is what's there at quarterback?
Quarterback, we have, if it'll pop up, the next one is Kenny Pickett and Bryce Young, actually.
Let's go with. I'm fine with DJ Chark. I think that's all right. And then, we could look at Bryce Young around the corner if he makes it.
Yeah, we'll do that. And then we do have Matthew Stafford and Brock Purdy as well.
We're not clashing bye weeks, so we the Cowboys are not on a week 7 bye, I don't think.
Yeah, I do. I never check bye weeks. I'm not even going to pretend that I check bye weeks. All right, we're coming up. We got a Kenneth Gainwell. We got Bryce Young. Do you want me to check anybody at certain positions?
Well, Dallas do have a week 7 bye, so let's not do that. Let's go Kenneth Gainwell, and we'll just push quarterback down the line and deal with that problem later on.
And I like that pick because, honestly, I was there last night, and Kenneth Gainwell, every time they started a new period in practice, was the first running back out with the ones. Every single time. And so that scares me for my penny shares, but whatever. As an Eagles fan, like, just everybody score.
So Kenneth Gainwell has been kind of getting that hype, not just what you mentioned, but also all the beat reporters are saying that in the 2-minute drill snaps that they're doing, it's all Kenny Gainwell. And that's always been the case with the Eagles, with his role there. Do you think that makes DeAndre Swift kind of undraftable at his current ADP?
Not really. Honestly, last night kind of scared me more for Penny because he kept coming out with the twos more often than not. Swift hasn't been draftable for me, period. And it's just because it reminds me of the old New England Patriots. It's like, okay, we got 3 running backs that could do things. Why would I waste my early pick on the earliest guy when I can get the same level of talent and value 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds later?
Yeah. In terms of quarterbacks that are left, could we add anyone that we've got a possible stack in the queue? Like, I think, it's probably worth putting.
Don't we have a Steeler, or am I crazy?
We've got Najee. We've got Jalen Warren. We could add. It's not the most perfect stat, but I don't hate it. We could add Jimmy G in because we've got Jacoby, haven't we?
No, we don't have Jacoby. We have Zay Jones.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
So we don't really have much of a stacking option here.
Okay, so then it'd be good to try and find ourselves a tight end that gives us a stack because the Cowboys do have the week 7 bye.
Hayden Hurst would be a stack with Zay Jones and DJ
Chark.
Yeah,
week 17, yeah. And in terms of CJ Stroud still on the board? Bryce Young is still on the board.
Bryce Young still there as well as CJ Stroud.
Okay, well, Chuck, again, though, that's week 7 bye. So, Joe, you keep trying to get me into this situation where we're going to week 7 buys.
Listen, we just take a week off.
It's we're not doing that because we are going to win the regular season prize of $500,000, and to do that, we don't want to be ever taking any zeros at points.
True.
So, what else have we got QB wise that we could look to backdoor stack? We could look at sort of maybe Mac Jones and Hunter Henry. We could look at Jimmy Garoppolo and Michael Mayer.
Yeah, we can do those. We could may hit those in.
In terms of ADP, I mean, we're a little ahead of all this. We've got enough time to stay ahead of the curve on all this, but it's always kind of worth doing.
Yeah, we could. I'm just like looking through. Matthew Stafford would still be there and Kenny Pickett, but neither like anybody I really want.
Shout out to Rob in the chat. Kenny Gainwell hype. Love to hear it.
I mean, Kenny Pickett is there for us if we wanted to go second quarterback with him just because of the Jalen Warren and then come back with Seahawks at the end like a Noah Fant. But
yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. I think, it's going to be right about ADP. So I'm fine with that. I think very much adding in Noah Fant is the kind of tight end that feels like he's being undervalued. I know we love Will Dissly over there, but I think Noah Fant is clearly the more talented player. So if Pickett does make it back to us, I'm fine with that. In terms of looking at all the positions, Joe, anybody kind of screaming value? Anybody falling way past ADP? Is Jaden Reed at the top? But
Rashid Shaheed is going to be behind. He was 165 ADP if he lands to us. If you wanted Kenny Pickett's 172, Ezekiel Elliott 171. Those are like the best ones on there.
This team doesn't need an Ezekiel Elliott. I think, we've got 5 running backs. I think, if we're building in a 0 RB team, I'm fine with putting a bit of Zeke Elliott in there, but I think we're good. Week 17 smash versus Arizona. Did Kyler Murray go off the board?
Kyler Murray, let's see. He is not on the list. He's gone.
Okay,
yeah, he's gone. And we're 1 pick away, so are we leaning towards Pickett?
Yeah, I guess so.
Go the same way. All right, Kenny Pickett, and we'll try to build a stack. I'll start putting Seahawks players in my queue now.
Cool. So whilst you do that, I'm going to touch on a couple more camp situations that have been bouncing up. So Javonte Williams back practicing sooner than expected, but Savannah Bell did a great appearance on the Establish a Run podcast last week, and one quote she said keeps sticking out to me, that there's a big difference between playing and playing like he used to. And his ADP's jumped up, and I'm sprinkling a little in because I don't want to have none, but now he's ahead of Rashad White and RB26. I can't see myself getting over 5% total. Joe, how about you?
Listen, I know we took Brees Hall here, and it's kind of a same scenario, but like Williams' knee was so jacked up, it was unreal. And they got some P. Ryan there. Why don't we do our pick? We got 25 seconds, then I'll go into it.
Let's go.
Where you want to go?
Let's go Chuba Hubbard for Week 17 correlation with Zay Jones. I mean, that screams out exactly what you need in Week 17. Chuba Hubbard, Zay Jones combining for 10 touchdowns. So could you just recap our team for us, Joe?
Yeah, of course. So our quarterbacks are Dak Prescott and Kenny Pickett. The running backs are Brees Hall, Miles Sanders, Rashad White, Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, Chuba Hubbard. Our wide receivers are A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, Mike Williams, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Zay Jones, Michael Gallup, and DJ Chark. And our tight end is my boy, Dallas Goedert.
Smells like $3 million to me. I don't know if you're able to flick back over the board. I know the technology was giving us some headaches, but if you are, keep an eye on what's everyone's going on. Sky Moore, another bit of camp news. He's well ahead of Kadarius Toney now. Seems to have lead for the slot role. Do you think it matters? Do you think that any of these wide receivers in the Chiefs' offense is going to be particularly good, or do you think we just see the Moneyball effect last year, where it's like, one wide receiver will get on base at certain points, but it's never going to be overly predictable?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I don't think it's going to be overly predictable. I just think this is what Andy Reid has always done. And, being an Eagles fan, I know it firsthand. Yes, if you have a talented person, he will use them, but he will use everybody. Like Mac Hollins was a thing here for a while too. Like things are just with Andy Reid, it doesn't matter. It's the scheme and it's Patrick Mahomes' arm. And after Travis Kelce, it's a free for all. And I'd rather take the shot at Sky Moore than like a Kadarius Toney right now, because that man just can't stay healthy.
Okay, so Jalen Hyatt's crept all the way up to the 14th round. He started the offseason up that kind of area, then he dropped all the way down to the 18th round. And shout out to Surplus of Cash in the chat, his Fantasy Unleashed podcast. Him and Josh, they've been all over Jalen Hyatt at times, and particularly whilst the price was low, I know they were buying high on him. And the book on him seemed to be that he was a rookie out of Tennessee, where there was a very limited scheme. He was just pretty much running vertical routes all the time. Do you think that what the Giants are supposedly doing, where they're opening up the route tree for him, do you think that should be something we should buy into, or does it just sound like kind of camp fluff to you?
I mean, at the point that he's at right now for Jalen Hyatt, I'll go after him. He's fast. Like, I don't care what the 40-yard dash said, because like you could literally watch him in training camp and be like, okay, that dude can like boogie, like he can run. So I'll take the shot at him. He's late enough to where I just need a couple of weeks, and they need something outside of a slot receiver to open up that field a little bit. So I feel like they're going to use him.
Cool. Next one, we'll rapid fire through a couple before it gets back to us. Khalil Herbert, apparently he's worked more on his pass protection and is getting more looks on third down in training. He's being trusted by Justin Fields in that realm. Apparently Justin Fields in general is checking down to running backs more often, which would be good. It would help him complete more passes per game. Are you buying that, or does that sound very much like camp fluff to you?
That one sounds like camp fluff to me. I'm not feeling that one. I don't really have like a statistic to prove why. Just every time I see it, I'm like, I don't believe you.
I think that's entirely fair. It's fair to just be skeptical. It's lying season. Teams will be trying stuff. The Ravens today got Pat Ricard, their fullback, back, and he spent his first practice working as an offensive lineman. It's like teams are doing things, they're trying things, and they're working out what they can get away with and what they can do. Roshan Johnson is a good pass protector, and I definitely think that by the end of the season, when games really count for best ball, that could be his role. We're 4 picks away, Joe, with a 2-6-7-1 build. I feel like it's wide receiver or tight end for me here. What do you want to do?
Well, let me ask you, because we have a Mac Jones, Hunter Henry possibility here. I don't know if you wanted to go a third quarterback, but the wide receivers left are Hunter Renfrow, Tyquan Thornton, Robert Woods, Corey Davis, which would stack with Brees Hall. I don't know if you want to go that far. What are you feeling?
So Hayden Hurst and Mike Gesicki are both there. Is Mike Gesicki and Hunter Henry both there?
Let me double check that real quick. Yeah, they're both there, so we can just double punch them too, and not have
So
to get Mac
well, if
Jones.
we took Mac Jones and then took whichever one of those tight ends, make it back around with
Sounds
preference to
good.
Hunter Henry, because basically today in some of the Patriots beat reporters stuff, they're saying that Hunter Henry is the clear tight end one. Mike Gesicki is the tight end two in this offense, and we haven't seen anything to suggest otherwise. Should we take Mac Jones?
I
I'm
think so,
fine.
and then we'll take whoever comes back with them. Because
Yeah.
I'm not super sold on Kenny Pickett, so I just want another guy that I think could do something. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine taking Hunter Henry's definitely the preference. I think we'll probably get him because this team on return is 2-5-7-2, and then Flavorize This already has his three tight ends. But I think, do you think that we could see a flipping where Gesicki drops and Hunter Henry comes back ahead of him?
I think so. I'm going to take Hunter Henry right now, just to
Let's
let you
go with
know.
it. I mean, there's a
Uh,
5-spot difference in position at the minute. Hunter Henry is the tight end 29, Mike Gesicki tight end 24. So, yeah, it'll require a good deal of people picking him ahead, but I'm fine with that.
yeah.
One of the Patriots bit, which we might as well touch on whilst we're here, Tyquan Thornton apparently really struggling in camp, barely getting targeted. Kendrick Bourne is going ahead of him in drills and looks to have the edge on him. Do you think now's the time where we should be looking to add Kendrick Bourne to our queue?
I'm not touching Kendrick Bourne. I'm not touching Thornton. I'm not touching a Patriots wide receiver. I don't care if Parker just made his money. I don't want a single one of them. It is the tight ends. It is the running back. It is maybe Mac Jones here and there, and that is it.
So we are done. That is round 18, and we have our roster. Joe, do you want to recap it and pull up the draft board and let people watch the rest of it play out? And we're going to rapid fire through some more questions whilst the draft finishes, and then we will get to the rosters in the draft. So Adam Thielen, supposedly Bryce Young's favorite target. He's just been peppering him with targets during training camp. Are you in on Adam Thielen? Is there a price where you would be in on Adam Thielen? Joe, you're on mute.
My bad. But no, I'm not in on Adam Thielen. I just, unless he falls to the bottom of the board, I really don't want to touch him. He just seems like he's on the all cardio team. He's just out there living life, getting his last paycheck, and then see you later. I'd rather have the DJ Charks. I'd rather have the Jonathan Mingos. I'd rather have somebody with some type of upside.
Yeah, I mean, his 1.08 yards per route run last year was dead last amongst wide receivers with 100 or more targets. His 10.4 yards per reception last year, ranked 67th of 84 wide receivers to 30 or more catches. Like, it just feels like he's over the cliff edge at this point in time. Let's recap our full roster now that we are done and we've got the 18 rounds in the bag.
Yep, I got you. So we're going to start with the quarterbacks. We got Dak Prescott, Kenny Pickett, and Mac Jones. Our running backs are Breece Hall, Miles Sanders, Rashad White, Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, Chuba Hubbard. Our wide receivers are A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, Mike Williams, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Zay Jones, Michael Gallup, and DJ Chark. And then at our tight ends, we have Dallas Goedert and Hunter Henry.
I like it. I think, possibly we've missed out a little by not having Noah Fant bring back on this Steelers thing that we were doing, but the power in this team is possibly built anywhere, and it's not something I'm going to stress about. In terms of the other teams, I know that from the 104, Go Birds was in the draft with us. Do you want to have a quick, can you scroll up and see what they're doing with the website let you, or is it going to give us headaches?
Let's see if it gives us headaches here. Let's play the game. All right, we got Go Birds, and of course it wants to give me a headache right now, because why wouldn't it? Just it's reloaded now. I could do it from my phone, though, because I got it set up over here as well. Let me just find him. So Go Birds, he has, from pick 4, of course, he has Jalen Hurts. This is a friend of mine, by the way, so I actually know who this is. He has Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy. He has Christian McCaffrey, Rashad Penny, Tank Bigsby, Tyler Algier, and Keontae Ingram, which him and I have discussed a few times that I think is a pointless pick, but whatever, at 213. Wide receivers, we have Devonta Smith, we have DJ Moore, we have Jackson Smith-Njigba, we have Jahan Dotson, Rashad Bateman, Marvin Mims, Curtis Samuel, Paris Campbell. And then at his tight ends, he has George Kittle, David Njoku, and Trey McBride. So he's got a lot of, like, he went for what we went for. The Eagles, Cardinals stacks, got a lot of the Niners and Commanders too.
Yeah, it's a good team, and I think it's an interesting one. He was probably cursing us for taking AJ Brown and Dallas Goedert and taking some of those Cardinals pieces on the bring back, but it's definitely nice. We are going to rattle through a couple more questions about camp hype and stuff before we get out of here. But of course, thank you to Rob in the chat for the nice draft, boys. Go and check out his podcast, Fantasy Unleashed. It is one of the smartest around. Ty Chandler, it sounds like the Vikings view this as a battle between only Kenny Nwangwu and Ty Chandler. We've had conversations about Dwayne McBride. Do you think the hope's over for him this year? That it's just time to give up drafting him and just deal with what you've got already?
I don't think it's over, but I'm not excited about it. I think you, I, and Scott Fish were talking about it a little bit today, and just like, I think he makes the team. The issue is just like special teams. That's what Kenny Nwangwu brings to the team, and I just think McBride ends up being the healthy scratch because he just doesn't catch the ball. So Alexander Madison leads the way, and then there's a battle for two. And then I was just reading right before we came on that the Vikings could be one of those teams that signs a veteran, because like every team could. But, the Vikings are now obviously going to be in the mix possibly. So I don't see him playing much this year. There has to be a lot of injuries for that to happen.
Luke Musgrave getting all the work as the Packers tight end one, barely coming off the field when the ones are out there, and it's only really Tucker Kraft competition. Can you see where Luke Musgrave went in this draft? Was he drafted? I don't know if you can see that, Joe. It'd be interesting to know. It feels like it could definitely be a wide range of outcomes for him. I wrote an article for Underdog earlier this year talking about how rookie tight ends in general, I think it was like 80% of them in their rookie season failed to score more than 6 half PPR points on average. It's a difficult bet to make, particularly on a young offense where you're talking about 2 rookie tight ends, 2 wide receivers heading into their second year, and then a wide receiver who is in his first year, and then a quarterback who has less career dropbacks than Trey Lance. It's not an offense I'm taking a lot of shots on, but Luke Musgrave, when he was free, felt like an okay bet. Where did he go, Joe?
He went at 214. The board doesn't want to move for me, so I just went through all the teams. But he went at 214 to CR Dave at pick position 3.
Good old Soccer Dave. Good to see him.
Dave. That makes more sense. I was like, what the hell is CR? This is what happens when I'm tired,
So that is it. That is all 23 questions answered. We hopefully have made some easier solutions for you people when you're on the clock and working out what to do. The draft was a good one. I feel like there was a lot of fun teams in there. We appreciate Olaf. We appreciate all you people who have come out and checked us out. Appreciate Andy and appreciate Nez, who both joined. You can do that below from 99p or $1.25 a month. Gets you into Fantasy Sanctuary Discord. Over 100 people in there talking startups, talking best ball leagues. It's a lot of fun, a lot of great people. We've even got a Bluey channel for the dads amongst us. And everyone else, we appreciate you being here. We will be back again for another one of these shows in the coming weeks. And I will be back on Wednesday trying to draft in the $350 FantasyPros Championship, but the draft doesn't seem to be filling up. If we can't get in there, we will find something to draft it instead. Appreciate everyone. We'll be back soon.